So steady bass is one of the great fingerstyle blues grooves. And it's really convenient because it's really simple. You just, if you're in an open key in particular, you're just gonna hang on one chord, and the simplicity of the bass lets you, play chords, play single note blues licks over it. Everything's great. But particularly if you're playing on a one chord blues or a vamp, you can start to wear out the steady bass. It can just start to sound really boring and repetitive. So in this lesson, I want to show you just a few simple steps you can take to build up that steady bass pulse into a much more interesting kind of groove that will still allow you to play open position chords and blues licks on top, so that everything is just much more multidimensional and cool. Okay, so let's start with the groove itself. If we're just going to be playing in A, we might want to hold down a really basic A chord here with the fifth and the root. And this is a syncopated chord groove on top. I'm starting on the and of 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And I'm holding down the chord until the and of 2 when I'm letting it go, so that by beat 3, you're not hearing anything besides the bass line. So that's the first step, just to get that groove going. And I'm still just playing 4 notes per bar on 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the low A string. The next thing to do is to start to play what I think of as like the rocking bass. I don't know if there's a real name for this, but it rocks between the root and the fifth. So we're still basically thinking like we're on an A chord, but we're playing root 5, root 5, the root and fifth of A. So that's happening on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so then, I guess that's step 2. Step 3 would be to put back in that syncopated chord groove on top of the rocking bass. So next step, because that would be step 4, is on beat 4, instead of repeating the E, is to go to a G note on beat 4, the flat 7 of A. So now the bass is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And since we're not playing any chords right now on beats 3 and 4, this is not that hard to add in. Except that on the and of 4, you do have to come in with the anticipated chord hit. So we've got and if you want, while the index finger is relaxed so that you're not hearing the chord on beats 3 and 4, you can play some offbeats with your index and middle finger to keep the groove going. So you have I guess it's just on the and of 3, really. That's the only place you have to do it. So if it's really slowed down, the whole thing now sounds like this. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Like that, and then back to tempo. So that feels really different from, right? It's got this whole motion to it. So now the question is, can we put some licks on top of that? So we're going to have this bass line. And the first step would be just to take notes of the A blues scale, or even just A minor pentatonic scale, in open position, and just see if we can get each one of those notes and still play the bass line. Just playing eighth notes on top on every note. And you can see just what kind of fingerings you need to do to make sure you're still getting that G bass note on every beat 4. And then you just take some really simple blues licks and just see if you can, what it takes to coordinate them over the bass. If this is going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, then you match it up with the bass. And that's happening on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So 4 is where we got our bass line. So that's going to be maybe a little tricky. 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? So it's going to be like a bar to get the bass note and the melody note. Or you could go use your thumb for the bass. That's kind of an extreme case, right? I'm just trying to show like the simplest thing down here and then like sort of the weirdest thing that could happen up here. But you could do that. Or with the thumb. Right? And so you take these licks and you try to plot them over the bass. And this is one of those stages of improvising where you're not literally going to be winging it at first. You're going to have to work out how it goes the first few times with the first few licks and put together a vocabulary of a few licks that you can play over that bass line. And then the more you work out individual specific licks, over time, it will become more intuitive and you'll be able to just start to improvise by rearranging and recombining the licks you've worked out. And then finally, you'll reach a stage where you can just play over that bass, like you can play over a steady bass now. So by taking that step-by-step approach, you can slowly build up a vocabulary. So that's one way to incorporate more interesting new bass lines into your steady bass grooves while still keeping track of the chord voicings and the single note licks that you want to be able to play on top. This is an idea that I teach in many lessons inside my membership, the Fingerstyle 5, as it applies to one chord blues and other kinds of 8 and 12 bar blues and chord progressions as well. If you're a fingerstyle blues guitar player interested in developing new grooves for your tunes, building your repertoire, starting to improvise, or even just dialing in your right hand coordination and basic technique on the instrument, I encourage you to check out my membership, the Fingerstyle 5, at the link below or the link on screen. If you have a question or a comment about today's lesson, please leave it down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.